I was 3 years wanted by the Gestapo. The next generation of the youngsters, they have no idea what it was from day, the life from day to day, and how horrible and how terrible.
Holocaust survivor Edith Hahn Beer, today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Joel Thompson. Have you ever heard of the phrase hiding in plain sight? Well, at the age of 25, an Austrian Jewish woman named Edith Hahn and her mother were taken by the Nazis to the Jewish ghetto in Vienna. Now, after 2 years there, the two of them were separated by the Nazis. Edith was sent to a German factory to work. She never saw her mother again. A year later, after having been given some identity papers by a Christian friend, Edith returned to Vienna, posing as a Christian woman. And from there, she actually went to Munich, where she hid her identity well. She even volunteered as a German Red Cross nurse. And that is where she met a Nazi officer, a man who fell in love with her. She fell in love with him. He proposed marriage to her even after she confessed to him that she was Jewish. Well, he helped her hide her identity. They did get married. They had a daughter who was born in a Nazi hospital in 1944. Their marriage ended shortly after the war, though, and Edith came out of hiding, as it were, revealed her true identity, and went on to live in London, and then in Israel. And finally, in 1999, her daughter, Angela, persuaded her to write a book, which she did. It's a memoir called The Nazi Officer's Wife. And this was after she had donated her collection of personal letters and documents from that era. She had, first of all, sold them at auction, and then they were donated to the Holocaust Museum in Washington. I talked with the two of them, mother and daughter, shortly after all that happened. In just a moment, my conversation with Edith Hahn Beer and her daughter Angela.
Over a 30-year span, national radio personality Bill Thompson did over 10,000 interviews with people who had a hand in shaping our culture and our society. Here is one of those interviews. Enjoy.
So here now, from 1999, Edith Hahn Beer and her daughter Angela.
I've never spoke about it for years and years. It was, I had said letters, and as I'm getting elderly, I gave them to her. Because if anybody finds it when something happened to me, I'm living in Israel and alone, then they would throw it in the dustbin. They are tightly written letters and in a different language. And so they would throw it, and so I gave it to her, and so she became acquainted with it. And it was her initiative that this letter should be kept, and so that she brought it to Sotheby's for the auction, and so it came into the rolling, into all these things. Because I have nothing, as I had it just in my drawer.
How does it feel to know that your papers are now in a museum, that people come to see them and look at them?
I think it is very nice for me to know that this story, what I have gone through, is not lost. And it becomes more important now because the people who went through the Holocaust and through all this, they are dying out. And they are elderly like me. And that's the youngsters and the people who look at the history and who want to know that they have original notes written at that time, not hindsight. The original notes about what happens and how we were treated.
Were you surprised to see what was in some of those notes, some of the things that you hadn't seen perhaps in many, many years? Did it surprise you to read them again?
No, I know them. I have gone through all that, and I know it. Doesn't surprise me.
What What is a U-boat? I mean, we know what the submarine is,
Yeah.
but what is the other meaning of U-boat?
That you live illegal, without coming to the surface of the society, that you are hidden, that you have no right to live.
What a dangerous existence that is.
Yeah, I've done it for 3 years. I was 3 years wanted by the Gestapo.
And your picture was on file.
Yeah, yes.
They knew who you, or somebody knew who you were.
Yes, of course. The Gestapo didn't know.
You know, I as I read your book, and it is a fascinating book,
Yeah.
as I read your book, it occurred to me how few people today have any idea what this must have been like. I mean, from their own...
This is what I said. This is why I wanted it published. Because then the next generation of the youngsters, they have no idea what it was from the life from day to day, and how horrible and how terrible it was.
How badly you just wanted an onion.
Yes. Yeah.
Something so simple as that.
Yeah.
Angela, if I may ask you, what was your reaction when you felt that this could be a book? I mean, did you realize what you had, and that it had to be a book, that it had to be published?
It was my initiative, and I desperately wanted this story to be told. I felt the story was so extraordinary. I felt that I wanted to contribute to the memory of the Holocaust. It should not be forgotten. And I dedicated this to the memory of my grandmother, who I never knew. She was murdered when she was 51, we think. And it was her only wish to hold her grandchild. And she never got to do that. And the only reason, because she was a Jew. And that is why I wanted this story told.
You must think that I have never told her anything when she was a child. I didn't want her to grow up under the pressure, and she didn't know anything.
At what point did you decide to tell her?
It was very late, when she was in grammar school already. But I never told her all, only what was necessary, what she asked for. But never all of it.
How painful was it to write this book?
It was not so painful, because I have gone through it with the papers. I have gone through all that again. Somewhere I got it out now of me.
Does it ever feel like it happened to somebody else and not you?
You're right. I can't believe it, that it happened to me. It is like, it is that I was chosen, and I had the luck, and I could live through that without being ever in touch with the Gestapo, and be still alive. I sometimes wonder that I'm still alive.
Does that mean you have an obligation?
Yes, to tell. I have an obligation to the next generation who doesn't know anything. This is what I mean.
Many people today don't understand that you did what you had to do at the time to survive. I mean, things that ordinary people in an ordinary civilization wouldn't dream of doing. When
I was a student in Vienna, I never crossed the road when it was forbidden to cross it. And then later on, I did so many things which were forbidden.
After this short break, Edith Hahn Beer tells about one of the most pivotal moments in her story.
If you've ever wondered where to find the captivating books we discuss on Now I've Heard Everything, wonder no more.
Just tap the link in our show notes or visit our website, heardeverything.com.
Plus, when you purchase through our affiliate links, you're not only diving into great stories, but also supporting this podcast.
And we thank you for your support.
Now back to my 1999 conversation with Edith Hahn Beer.
One of the most dramatic scenes in the book is when you have to tell Werner that you are Jewish.
Yeah, this was it.
My heart was in my throat as I was reading. I was like, you. What is he going to do to her?
Yeah, I was. This was very unexpected and a complete surprise to me. I didn't know if he will recognize me after the summer holiday, when the 7 days we met and went out together. And when he suddenly proposed marriage to me, so I was taken aback. And I did try to, with platitudes, to come, to make it quiet, and said that I will wait for him, and I will wait for him bis after the war, and during the war you shouldn't marry, and all what you can in this thing. But he was impossible to get rid of him. He wanted to meet my father. Where should I take a father from? And it was impossible. But he took it very well. I must say, he never reproached me or anything in that way. He said, but he had lied to me. Otherwise, he would have written a letter to me. And then it would be easy to write a letter to him in answer. But he had lied to me and felt very guilty about it. And then he said, it is good that something is wrong in my case too, not only in his case.
And it also, another very dramatic moment in the book, we would not be sitting here with Angela if he had talked you into not having a baby.
Yeah, but I had a long talk. It was not easy to get him. But I was working in the maternity ward, in the hospital, and every day I had births and babies in my hand. So, and I was 29 years old. I was afraid I'm getting too old for the babies. And the next thing is I was convinced that she wouldn't be born anymore in Nazi time. Because for me the war was already won. And she would not be born during Nazi time.
Angela, is it true that you are the only Jew born in a Reich hospital?
I'm sure I'm the only Jewish child to be born of a Jewish mother in a perfectly ordinary Nazi hospital, welcomed by a room full of Nazi doctors, another child for Hitler. And if they had known, if they had found me and my mother, they would either they killed babies instantly or they used them for experiments.
All the people that you mention in the book that could have, just like that, snuffed out both your lives in an instant. Just a slip of the tongue would have done you well.
I was afraid of that slip of the tongue. I got very, very quiet, and I was thinking of every word I was saying, because the difficulty is I had to pretend to be 8 years younger. This is easy now. Everybody, I could do it now, but not when you are 25 or 28, because you could not have seen and really lived through many things, what everybody knows. And this was very difficult.
But the hardest part must have been hiding how smart you were.
I was afraid to that my education may take me. Maybe I got very quiet, and I didn't discuss anything. I didn't never talk about politics, never about the Nazis, not for them and not against them, never. And so I came through. I listened.
There is a marvelously haunting segment of the book in which you describe your experience in Munich. And I don't know, Angela, would perhaps you like to read this passage?
This is when my mother arrives in Munich. She went by the night train, overnight. She arrives in Munich. In the morning, I stood in the station and looked around at the Germans. They seemed just fine. Healthy, pink, well-fed. Swastika armbands and Hitler's pictures were everywhere. Red and black and white banners fluttered from the walls and the roofs, and the martial music was playing. There were so many pretty, laughing women, so many confident, decorated soldiers. You could buy every sort of flour and wine, and wonderful things to eat. A holiday place, this Munich, with high spirits and happy people. I thought, now I am like Dante. I walk through hell, but I am not burning.
It was a surprising holiday place. No bombs in Munich, no, only blackout in the evening. And everywhere lots of people and holiday, like I was used to a holiday place. There were actually many SS men from the north who couldn't speak German, from Litauen and from this place. There were many young SS men, I suppose, sent on holiday there in Munich, and they couldn't speak a word of German. They had only the uniform.
Edith Hahn Beer died in 2009, 10 years after our interview, at the age of 95. Now you can get your copy of The Nazi Officer's Wife by Edith Hahn Beer by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a HeardEverything.com is where you can also find my 1993 interview with the woman who has fought with Holocaust deniers for years, Deborah Lipstadt.
There are lots of things to debate, lots of things to discuss, and there's vast difference among historians on these issues, but that's very different than saying something didn't happen when we know it's a fact.
And my 1990 conversation with the Israeli agent who found and captured Adolf Eichmann, Peter Z. Malkin.
I want to understand what makes a man like me and you become what he is. Because people said he's a monster. Nonsense. It's not a monster, it's a human being. A human being was trained and accepted the training to be what he was.
Now, of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, a true, and we say this too often, but he is a true musical legend. My 1993 conversation with the one and only Pete Seeger.
I would like to see people singing even when they're not with friends they know. I'd like to see people singing while they're waiting for the bus. Just us, waiting for the bus, just us, waiting for the bus, just us. Waiting for the bus, Mr. Driver, won't you please come soon?
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.